It is March 17, 2018. This is the Watchman News, and I'm Mike Callahan. So I'm going over and I'm clipping out yesterday's monologue so I can upload it to YouTube. And I wanted to show you this story that's breaking news from RT because it directly relates to the monologue from yesterday. In fact, I said this very thing. And so I just wanted to point this out, and I wanted to note that I will also put the link to this article right here in the description of the video. So I want to make sure to get this in there. I wanted to make sure that you guys understand that this needed to be added to that. And then, of course, I've got the other two links too as well that I covered in the monologue itself. So. But anyway, the headline is, Not Proxy. Lavrov says U.S., British, French special forces directly involved in Syria war. I was just talking about that yesterday. So I wanted to add that in. I wanted to let you know that I was going to put the link to that article in the description as well as the links to the other two articles. I hope everybody's having a rather decent morning. I know this is never good news, but it is what it is. Thanks for watching.
Hi, good afternoon. Wow, another one of those days. I've been trying to do my best to keep up on different headlines coming in, and wow, crazy stuff. So, if there's a change in how we appear or the quality of our video, understand that I'm using two different programs right now to broadcast out to both DLive and to YouTube. And the reason why is because the YouTube Nazis are no fun. And so I'm thinking about doing up a series of different intro videos for one, using, no music. And instead of having to deal with YouTube Nazis, I'll just start the show up a little bit early over on DLive, roll the intro video, and say things that aren't advertiser friendly. And we don't, by the way, we don't monetize our live shows anyway. We monetize our recorded videos that we put up, but not our live shows. Anyway, so I was going over the news a little bit, and wow, it's insane. And I could sit here, and I'm going to in a bit. I will go over the Twitter news here in a bit. I guess I could read the headlines real quick, but then I'm going to dig into something. So let me read the headlines. I'm also, what I'm doing is I'm recording my monologue, and I'm going to probably start doing that on a regular basis because there's a lot of things at the beginning of the show that really need to be recorded and put out there because let's face it, not everybody has the time or desire or attention span to watch a 4-hour show. And a lot of times in the beginning of the show, I'll cover a couple of things and I'll discuss it. And I think it's important that the viewpoint gets out there. And I think it gets missed because people don't want to tune into a 4-hour show. And I get that. I understand that. So anyway, let me read through the Twitter list. Then I got a couple of stories that I want to pull up that is somewhat related to the stuff that I tweeted out today. And it's going to be my daily bitch, I'll call it. Starting out, British Foreign Secretary says likely Putin's decision to order use of nerve agent in UK. Wow. And I've said it before, and I'll say it another 100,000 times. They're not going to kill their own agent in that manner. Right? If it's a double agent, right, and everything's supposedly up and up at that moment, and I don't know that it was. I don't know. I don't know all the fine details of it. None of us do. But why wouldn't they just say, hey, come home. We've got a mission for you here at home. And then kill them at home. Right? Why involve other countries? None of it makes any sense unless you understand what's really going on here. And that I do believe I have a good... I think anybody with two brain cells to rub together has an idea of what's really going on here. Russia and China dumping U.S. treasuries. That is insane, folks. That's insane. That's one of the canaries in the coal mine that we've been watching for. Militants tried to derail civilian evacuation in Syria's Hamarya. militants, by the way, militants, right? The ones the U.S. are backing, they tried to derail a civilian evacuation, okay, which they would have wound up blaming it on Russia, right? Which I've got something for you on that note, too, after a bit. Let's see. Russia opens criminal cases over Yulia Skripal's poisoning. Suspected Palestinian drives car into crowd in West Bank. Casualties reported. Ban those cars. They've already tried banning the Palestinians, so banning the cars, maybe that'd do it. I don't know, until they figure out what a rock is. New EU sanctions against Iran proposed to keep Trump in 2015 nuclear deal. That's what I got for you later. Whatever goes wrong, you can always blame a Russian. It's pretty funny. We'll play it for you after a bit. So, and here's my monologue from yesterday that I had posted a little bit earlier. So, not a bunch of stuff today. Not a bunch of stuff today. So let me get into these stories that involve Russia. Okay? And I keep talking about how we're heading towards a world war. And I think, at least for me, I look at everything and it's real obvious to me. It's real obvious. And there are some very key things that are going on that indicate this. Now, the economy and trade issues are huge in all of this, okay? But there are other things as well, like blaming everything on Russia. So let's see where the tone is right now, because that's what's important. Where is the tone of the countries at? And we'll start out with this article from Newsweek. Russia says, and this, by the way, was posted on the 13th of this month, Russia says it will attack U.S. military if Trump strikes Syria again. Says top Russian officials have threatened to retaliate with force if President Donald Trump orders an attack that could endanger the lives of its soldiers stationed there in support of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's campaign against rebels and jihadis near Damascus. Okay, and we've talked about this. In fact, I've talked about this very story. Army General Valery Gerasimov, and I know I said that wrong, warned on Tuesday that the U.S. was preparing to launch raids against Moscow's ally, the Syrian government, as it attempted to clear the pockets of insurgents, some of which were once backed by the West. In the suburbs of the capital city of Damascus, Gerasimov, that might be what it is, Gerasimov. Anyway, who acted as chief of Russia's general staff and deputy defense minister, claimed that U.S. would strike under the false pretense of a chemical weapon attack, a tactic that Russia has denied the Syrian military utilizes, and vowed to fight back. Now, folks, the U.S. has been doing this trick for a long time. In the event of a threat to our military servicemen's lives, Russia's armed forces will take retaliatory measures to target both the missiles and their delivery vehicles, Gerasimov said, according to the state-run TASS Russian news agency. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley has railed against the Syrian government's recently intensified campaign to retake the insurgent-held district of eastern Ghouta outside Damascus, accusing Syria and its Russian and Iranian allies of mounting civilian casualties. You know, like we do from drones, like daily. As a fellow permanent UN Security Council member, Russia has vetoed a number of resolutions targeting Assad's government and has accused the insurgents of shelling nearby Damascus city. Haley also blamed Russia for breaking a 30-day ceasefire agreement reached earlier this month. So this is how the ceasefires work, okay? You get typically the good guys to quit shooting while the bad guys keep pecking them off. That's typically what a ceasefire is. You know, kind of like a gun-free zone, right? When the international community consistently fails to act, there are times when states are compelled to take their own action, Haley told the UN Security Council on Monday, citing the current situation in eastern Ghouta as an example of this, as The Hill reported. We warn any nation determined to impose its will through chemical attacks and inhumane suffering, but most especially the outlaw Syrian regime, because, right, the Syrians, they're the worst. Except for the Russians. The Russians are worse than the Syrians, but for now the Syrians are the worst, because that's who we're talking about, right? Next story's Russians, then they'll be the worst. Use sarin gas in the northwestern rebel-held district of Idlib, something Russia and Syria have denied. Less than 72 hours after the U.S. accused Syria of being behind the attack, Trump ordered a cruise missile strike from the Navy warships in the Mediterranean. In a disagreement that has become characteristic of U.S. and Russian involvement in Syria, Washington claimed that it had used a previously established deconfliction line to warn Russia of the attack, but Moscow denied this, saying Russian personnel at the targeted Al-Shayrat air base were put at risk. So this goes in talking about that previous attack, but the current tone is that if we have any more, accidents, that they will shoot back non-accidentally. Okay, and I think they're being pretty firm about it, and I don't blame them one bit. Not one bit. Somebody's got to knock this country back. Speaking about that, I'm taking you to the next article that I pulled up to read, and this really sets the tone at where we sit. Russia says 500 years of Western rule coming to an end. This is also on Newsweek, but I'm getting it from the DEFCONWarningSystem.com website. Russia has refused to answer any ultimatums from the U.S. Or, by the way, it's posted today. Yesterday. I just wanted to make note of that. This article was written yesterday. Russia has refused to answer any ultimatums from the U.S. or any of its allies, saying the West-led world order was no more, and Moscow would pursue its own foreign policy path, despite new challenges across the globe and beyond. The globe and beyond. Now, what is it that Trump was just talking about? A new military space force? The globe and beyond. Russian Foreign Ministry Sergei Lavrov told a forum promoting investment in his country that many other nations had a very nervous reaction to Russia's rise from a post-Soviet chaos into a leading world power in the past 2 decades. As Russian President Vladimir Putin sought to expand his country's military power and political influence, Western nations such as France, Germany, the U.S., and the U.K. have accused him of attempting to interfere in the internal affairs, a charge that Putin and his government have dismissed. We do not seek confrontation with anybody. We wish to cooperate with all on equitable terms, on the basis of mutual respect, and search for a balance of interest and mutually acceptable approaches, Lavrov said, according to the state-run TASS Russian news agency. The Kremlin's top diplomat blamed recent tensions in the categorical reluctance of the United States and its Western allies to agree that the 500-year-long period of Western domination in world affairs is coming to an end, saying such a transition would be difficult for those who are in the habit of ruling the world for centuries. In one of the most recent challenges to Russia's relationship with the West, London has accused Moscow of being behind the poisoning of a former Russian spy who fled to the UK after he was arrested for being a double agent and released in a 2010 prisoner swap. Russia has denied the charges, but the UK has already moved to expel 23 Russian diplomats. The response will come very quickly, I can assure you, Lavrov reportedly said when asked about Moscow's reaction to the measures. The U.S. has also expelled diplomats and issued sanctions against Russia after accusing it of covertly helping President Donald Trump win the 2016 election. Both Russia and Trump deny being a part of the conspiracy, but relations have not recovered since. Okay, folks, that is not the reason why the United States and Russia are at each other's throats. The whole Trump-Russia collusion thing for the election has no bearing on it. Absolutely no bearing on it. You know who that whole story has a bearing on? The dumbass libtards that want to keep pushing it, right? Because anybody, right? Even what was his name? Stevie, the blind musician. Yeah, Stevie Wonder. Wonder what his name is. Stevie Wonder could even see that there is no Russian collusion when it came to that election, right? Because if there was Russian collusion when it came to that election, we wouldn't be standing on the cliff of World War III today. All right, but for some reason, the liberals can't see the forest for the trees. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I don't understand it, but whatever. I can't care about that. We have to move forward because, folks, stopping and waiting for others at this point, probably not a good plan. Russia and the West have not only been at odds politically, the U.S.-led military alliance NATO has boosted its military might across Russia's borders following Moscow's 2014 annexation of the Crimean Peninsula as unrest gripped Ukraine. Both Russia and NATO have bolstered their defenses and conducted frequent military drills across Europe, creating a Cold War-like arms race in which Russia claimed the U.S. was trying to undermine Moscow's power via a global missile shield. Right? And I'm not going to read all this story either. I will actually, for the monologue video, I'll put the links to these two articles in the description of this video. So you'll be able to go read the articles in full. But, you know, the thing of it is it's really obvious at this point. Really obvious. In fact, the proxy wars are starting to come to an end. Now there's actually threats of live fire directly at one another. And I expect that you're going to probably see that in the coming weeks. I expect this to get hot fast, and when it gets hot, I expect it to go full-blown. And what do I mean by full-blown? I'm not necessarily saying thermonuclear or EMP or, you know, I'm talking about full authorization to fire on the other, you know. It might start out, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if it's going to start out small, start out big, start out with nukes, start out with EMPs. I don't know. I couldn't tell you that. I don't know in the slightest. All I know is the same thing I've been telling everybody, that it's been coming, that we need to be ready for it.